welcome to The Wrap, brought to you by Michigan Medicine Headlines. I'm Bailey Merzick with the Department of Communication.
And yes, you're hearing it right. I'm Bailey's co-host for the week, Dan Ellman, also with the Department of Communication. Today, Bailey, a former intern here at Michigan Medicine, as well as 3 current interns, will be taking over the podcast.
Now, before we get into that conversation, I want you to stop what you're doing, go back and listen to any episode of The Wrap you may have missed. You can find the shows on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any other podcast hosting platform. New shows debut weekly and can be found on the Michigan Medicine YouTube channel and as part of the Headlines Week in Review.
All right, on that note, let's bring in Andy Dolan, Ren Laird, and Patsy DeLacy, 3 summer interns with the Department of Communication. First, can the 3 of you start by introducing yourselves and briefly explain your roles in our department?
All right, so my name is Patsy DeLacy. I am a PR intern with the Department of Communication.
Hi, I'm Andy Dolan. I am the internal communications intern for the Department of Communications this summer. I'm an organizational communications major from Michigan State. I'm actually wrapping up my final course right now. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the year with this team.
I'm Ren Laird. I'm the creative services intern for the Department of Communications for the summer.
Okay, so diving into your backgrounds a little bit more, Andy just mentioned, but where do Patsy and Ren, where do you attend school, and what is your major and graduation year?
So I finished college in 2015. I went to Duke University and I studied evolutionary anthropology there. And I just finished a PhD in April at University of Michigan in the psychology department. I was in the biopsychology area. And for my dissertation, I was studying gelada monkeys in Ethiopia and decided I didn't want to go down the professor track. So I really liked writing and science writing. So I found this opportunity to continue science writing, but for a general audience. And it seemed like a really cool kind of step into that career path. So that's what led me here.
So I am a senior at Eastern Michigan University. I am supposed to be graduating actually the end of next month, so it's coming up. I went there for about 2 years. I transferred from Washtenaw Community College. So I majored in digital media production and I minored in communication, media, and theater arts. So
Love it. You guys have very varied backgrounds. I think that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So now you've been here at least a couple of months or so. Throughout that time as an intern, can you talk about some of the things you've learned?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I've learned a lot about, strategic writing so far with all the communications we put out internally on headlines and stuff like that. I've had a really cool, opportunity to address some really cool stories that go on within our organization and really learn about some others that I'm not working on directly, but see my colleagues work on. And it's really cool to see, how a big health system organization like the one we're in kind of functions and really needs the support from communication staff to really work well and collectively and cohesively. So that's kind of been one of the big takeaways so far. I've had some other cool projects and initiatives I've been able to be a part of, very people-oriented, initiatives. So it's very cool stuff that I've been able to be a part of, and I'm very glad to continue it for the rest of the year.
I can jump in there. So I've gotten a chance to kind of practice science writing for a general audience by writing for the Health Lab, the daily online publication. And I think I've really learned how to conduct interviews with scientists or with other patients or with patients that are part of Michigan Medicine. And I think it's helped me kind of get out of that mind of writing for a journal, like an academic journal, and then kind of transition into finding like the human element of that story and how to, start with, a hook and lead into, still incorporate the science, but make it more of a story and make it accessible to everyone. And I think that's been really useful. And the edits from the team here has been really helpful to kind of learn from them about like how to conduct these interviews and put these stories together.
So with digital media production and video production, I always feel like the best way to learn from those is even if you go to school for a while, actually doing the work is really how you learn and being out in the field. So as much as I've learned throughout school, even being here for the last few months or so, I feel like I've learned just as much as before, honestly, and I've been learning a lot. So I have been able to see what it's like at a corporation or an organization, because in the past, a lot of creative jobs like that, you're doing stuff a little bit more like freelance or random photo shoots here and there. So working in an office and learning more about that dynamic has been really helpful for me. And I've been able to do a lot of really cool things so far and have just had a great time learning here so far.
So that is a great transition to my next question. So I was an intern here too. Actually, I was in Andy's position a couple years ago. And I know it can not only be a great learning experience, but it can also be fun and interesting. So with that being said, have you gotten involved, any of you, in any cool opportunities so far or projects since you've started here?
Yeah, like I kind of just mentioned, I've been able to kind of hop on some really cool initiatives that the team's working on and was starting before I got there. For example, in a project called Peoples of Michigan Medicine that we will hopefully deploy soon. Like I said, it's very people-oriented, kind of telling stories about our colleagues outside of work and the stuff they do to keep a healthy work-life balance and all other sorts of things that encompass our lives outside of work. So kind of stuff like that, I think has been really cool to be a part of. We have some very interesting people within our organization here. So there's a lot of really cool stories to be told, and it's our job to kind of bring those to light and, tell them in the correct way to make sure we're, supporting and, making a bunch of different parts, moving parts happy at the same time. So I think it's been a really great experience to kind of learn that and all the office processes like Ren just mentioned, being able to be a part of the daily discussions, meetings, and stuff like that, that really kind of just, will help me in my future roles. And I think that's kind of the biggest benefit from an internship like this.
I think from the PR side of things, in addition to writing, I've gotten to help a lot with media visits. So either when something like a newspaper like the Detroit Free Press comes to do a story about a patient at one of our hospital buildings, or sometimes for television, if they're coming to do a story at Mott or something like that, going to be a media escort for that has been really interesting to kind of learn about PR for a major academic hospital and how we can, try to put our best foot forward to, show our great patient care and our great healthcare professionals while also protecting patient information and patient care and all of that. So that's been really interesting to be a part of those different things. And I think also with the stories, I think I've gotten to do some really great interviews with patients and also with some of our doctors or physical therapists, things like that. So I think it's been really interesting to kind of have a breadth of different things I've been able to cover, everything from a patient story at Mott that's also about like the new rare diseases center that Michigan Medicine just got accreditation for, and then down to something like doing a story now on how bacteria cells divide. That's more of a basic science story. So it's been cool to get kind of that really big breadth of stories to cover. And I really appreciated that about the internship also.
So within creative services, a lot of the jobs and positions we get to do have been really unique and interesting, and getting to go out on different shoots and everything. And Patsy and I even got to film a surgery last week, I believe. And actually last week I filmed 2 different surgeries. I was a little bit busy. So that was definitely an experience I never thought that I would have. So it was pretty awesome to gain that experience and learn what happens in the OR and all that sort of stuff. So that was amazing as well. And there have been a lot of projects that I've been allowed to sort of be solo put on recently, which has been really awesome. Learning just immediately reaching out to people and doing all of that and really taking over and that sort of stuff has been really a great learning experience. And there's just been a lot of cool projects that I've gotten to film and be a part of already. So that has just been really amazing.
Yeah, that's great. Patsy, I just want to go back. I'm still fascinated by your background, and I just wonder sort of if you could talk about, like, has there been anything that's really surprising or eye-opening coming from sort of a scientific background to now more of a general audience type of background?
Yeah, it's definitely been a transition from, the academic background to more general audience. I think um, one learning curve thing for writing that I needed to like kind of work out was when you're writing for an academic journal, it's like you cite everything, like every sentence you have a citation for another journal, because you're always like building on top of something. And I think I did that with my first story, and that was they were like, no, this is, you don't need to do that. Like,
Yeah.
rely on the source that you have, and you can add quotes and all of that kind of stuff and make it more like journalistic. So that's been a transition, and also having that human element has been nice with I really enjoyed studying gelato monkeys when I was in Ethiopia, and so it was wildlife biology that I was focusing on. But you don't have the same like interaction as much with kind of like, I've been able to interact with patients and to interact with doctors and hear about like how the research is kind of impacting people's daily lives. And I think that, basic science is really important. I did enjoy it, but it's been kind of nice to transition over to something that has this like day-to-day application also.
Yeah, I think, and one of the takeaways I would give to the three of you is that, in my sense, everyone here has a story to tell, right? Whether at work with the work that they're doing or outside of work. And it's sort of what I love about our job in the Department of Communication is we get to tell those stories, right? And we get to find them. And we have 30,000 plus employees that we could talk to who are doing incredible things. And we get to sort of find those stories and tell them. So with something like that in mind, I'd like to sort of look more long term. Can the three of you sort of reflect on internships in general and sort of what you'll take away from this, how it'll help you in the future, and sort of maybe what piece of advice you would have to others who are sort of in a similar position as you, whether it's in school or you're out of school and maybe looking to change careers, and why something like these opportunities are so important?
Yeah, so I think as we can all probably attest, university courses and experiences can only take you so far in what you're trying to accomplish and learn. So I think we really need these internship and fellowship type experiences to really gain a grasp on what it's going to be like in the real world. We have a lot of theorizing we do in college, without not a lot of putting stuff into practical applications. So I think these type of experiences really expand on the stuff we already know in terms of what we learned at university, but we also learn a lot about the interpersonal dynamics of an office, how to work, cohesively with a team, support your team, and along with all the trial and errors that go along with the work you're doing, seeing the stuff that succeeds and what fails. As in college, we tend to spend a lot of time working with peers and people of like-minded individuals that often won't challenge your beliefs and thinking about certain things. So I think having the opportunity to be in a more diverse organization where we can kind of work with people of all different backgrounds that are a lot different than us, and really kind of learn those differences about being in a real world job.
Yeah, kind of adding to what Andrew said, I think I'm coming from it as a career transition, and gaining a lot of experience working in this like academic hospital has been really interesting to talk to people that are in, like you said, in a broad like backgrounds and different positions. I was coming from obviously a very specific dissertation that I got a lot of experience in like a very small area of research, and that's what a dissertation is. But the internship has been really great for that career transition to learn about this large hospital system, learn about what all these different positions are that are out there, and just kind of I think my advice for someone doing an internship is just kind of to don't be afraid to talk to your colleagues and ask questions. I think that's been where I've learned a lot, talking to the other interns, talking to people in different departments, and just learning as much as I can while I like kind of figure out what my next step will be.
Having field experience has been very helpful in learning how it's going to be in the actual job field, specifically mine, but it for everybody when you go through it. So I think that and learning from peers has been part of the things that are really going to benefit me for the future, because there are so many people that I work with who all have different views and opinions and different ways of doing things in creative services. And with internships, that's really the opportunity you get to work directly with people and learn and ask questions. So being able to learn and ask questions from people in my department who are state Emmy winners and all those sort of things has been really awesome, because they all have different versions of doing things and they all have different ways of teaching me them. So that is something I absolutely recommend to any student who's trying before their next step after college. I absolutely recommend doing an internship.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much, Andy, Ren, and Patsy, for joining us today and sharing a little bit about your background and how your internship has gone so far this summer.
All right, it's time for the lightning round, when we ask typically one of our guests 4 questions they haven't seen before. But this time we're going to do it a bit differently and have each of you answer some questions. Now, Andy, you lost a tug of war before the show today, so you'll answer 2 of the 4 questions. The other ones will only have to answer 1. So, you guys ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to start with Andy. Rumor has it you like to travel. So where is the coolest place you have traveled so far?
Well, I've traveled a lot in the continental US, so I haven't got out into anywhere, super cool per se, but I enjoy the state of Colorado more than anywhere else in the world. I'm a big mountain person. I love the activities that come with it, and just being able to be in that scenery all the time is pretty unbelievable to me. So I do try to get out there as much as I can. I do luckily have some family there that I get to visit occasionally, so I'm very fortunate for that. But yeah, I do like those 4 corner states, the mountainous regions, and stuff like that. So I hope to get back there again soon.
All right, let's turn to Ren. Earlier this month was National Ice Cream Day. Are you a fan of ice cream? If so, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? And if not, what's your favorite sweet treat?
So it feels like this question was personally tailored to me, because my favorite dessert is ice cream. So that's number 1, what I would ask for birthdays. It wasn't cake, it was ice cream. So good question. Yeah. For more standard ones, I like stuff like black raspberry or cookie dough. But if we're going a little bit fancier, there's a cool place by us called Blank Slate that does like fancier ice cream flavors. And they have one that's honey lemon lavender, I believe. And that one's one I really enjoy. So, yeah.
Wow. Not sure how I feel about that. It's probably great. I don't know if I would dive in and order that one.
It's interesting. I know some people are like, this tastes like a soap, and other people are like, it's pretty good.
I was going to say, it sounds like a great bar soap.
I'm sure it would be as well, but I do tend to like it. Not everyone does.
Okay, so let's hear from Patsy now. Keeping on the topic of food, what restaurant could you go to all the time and never get tired of?
Let's see, I'll try to think of something Ann Arbor specific. I do really love Tup Tim, which is a Thai restaurant that's, I don't know if it's in Ann Arbor or Poughkeepsie. It's like close to the border. But it was one of my favorites during like the pandemic for ordering takeout. So I think now it's just maybe comforting somehow, but I feel like I've tried a lot of different things on the menu, and you can go as spicy or not spicy as you like. And I would say like everything from, the different noodle dishes and the curries, they're all delicious. So I would recommend it if you haven't tried it yet and you're in the area.
Yeah, I love Thai food, so that sounds great. I'm gonna have to give it a try. All right, Andy, back to you. As you reflect on your time as your undergrad career now winds up, who has been the biggest inspiration besides me in your years of undergrad?
Well, Danny, you have been a big inspiration the past couple months. I'll give you that. But I would have to look back, honestly, at a few professors I had at university. Mainly one sticks out in particular. Her name is Jingbo Main, sorry. And she was a communications professor at Michigan State. I was fortunate to be able to take several classes with her. So in terms of my career, I think she's really, meant a lot towards me in terms of, the stuff I was able to learn from her. Part of joining this internship, or what intrigued me about this internship, is the fact that it was health related. I took a health communications class with her, which really intrigued me into the field. So Yeah, I'm very appreciative for my time spent with Professor Meng. And yeah, she really has definitely made an impact on, my interests in communications and strategic communications.
All right. Well, thanks again to all of you for being good sports today and sharing a look into your experiences here at Michigan Medicine. Now it's time for the weekly trivia contest. First, congratulations to social worker Susan Atkins, who won last week's contest. For this week's question, here's Dan.
Now, Bailey, before we get into this week's question, I'm not going to let you off the hook that easy. We've been talking about internships. So I just want to know, since you were a previous intern here and now work here full time, what was sort of the biggest takeaway you got out of your summer here that has helped you now in your career with the quality department?
I think learning how to, like Andy mentioned earlier, just seeing how a complex organization functions and how to, because in college I never really did writing for internal employees. It was all like external journalism type stuff. So that internship really helped me, with my communications to the employee side of things and sharpen my writing skills in that aspect. So I think that's really helped me.
Love it. All right. All right. This week's trivia question is, this year's Building Toward Belonging training will focus on mitigating which type of bias? Once again, this year's Building Toward Belonging training will focus on mitigating which type of bias? You can find the answer in headlines, and once you know it, send it to headlines@med.umich.edu for the chance to win a prize.
And that's all the time we have for this week. Thank you to the Department of Communication interns for joining us. And thanks, as always, to all of our listeners and viewers for everything you do for patients, families, and each other. We'll see you next week.